Hey everybody, welcome to the SilmFilm project script discussion for season 1. We're going to try to cover episodes 9 and 10 today. I'm alone on camera today, which is a little daunting, but we're gonna try to power through this. Karita's here with me in the chat. Hopefully we'll get some other visits as well, and we'll see what we can do with this, huh? All right, so episode 9, we're doing the fall of the collective falls of Ase and Myron. We're not quite at the fall of Myron yet, but what we're doing is we're kind of getting there. We're, we showed some movement in that direction back in episode 8, when we saw his reaction to Manway's lack of a reaction to insults and poor treatment from Melkor. So we start out. We got to figure out the frame. Now, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot is that over the course of these episodes, we've really put the focus on Elrond's interaction with Estelle's, and occasionally Gilrain will get involved with it. Seems like every time there's conflict between Elrond and Gilrain, Elrond is 100% in the right, which is really easy to do because he's the one telling the stories. So whatever the point of the lesson is, he's kind of got the upper hand there. But we'd like it to not just be a one-way street. We'd like Gilrain to kind of get some points, as it were. So the question is going to be how to do that. Karita, Skype just let me know that you're online, so yay. So how are we going to do that? One thing that I thought of was that the rebellion of Ase, the direction that it's being taken in, is that Ase is a force of chaos, right? And he's kind of being reined in by everybody, Olmo included, but, and Melkor has him kind of cut loose, convinces him to cut loose, and as Tony Stark said to the Hulk, you're tiptoeing, big man. You got to strut. So that's basically the direction that's going to go. At which point, Unin, who is Ase's significant other, wife, partner, however you want to put it, she takes the position that chaos and fun is okay within limits, within boundaries. It's not bad to have a little chaos in your life. And I was actually talking this over with my parents recently, and they reminded me of a scene from a movie called Parenthood with Hello. Hey, Alex. Welcome aboard. So it's a movie with Steve Martin, a bunch of other very, very famous actors in it. Rick Moranis is in it. Keanu Reeves is in it. Like, there's a lot of random people who are in the movie. But at some point, yeah, I'd say that signing up for Twitter is a small price to pay to be able to get involved in this nonsense. All right. If you want to call in, you're welcome to, because I would love to not be the only one up here. If not, that's okay. I'll deal with it, but it's cool. Anyway, it was an angelic smiley. He typed a smiley with an O in front of it. So, yes, it's a holy smiley. So, anyway, towards the climax of the movie, one of the characters, Stephen Martin's character, is getting really agitated because there's a lot of chaos going on in parts of his life. And his wife's grandmother, I think it is, tells this story about how she used to go, when she was a little girl, she used to go to the carnival. And a lot of people used to like to go on the merry-go-round. It would go around and around and around, and it was fun. And then, but you could also go on the roller coaster. And she was really scared when she went on the roller coaster. But she liked it better than the merry-go-round. At which point, Steve Martin says, "What a great story!" Because to him, it seems irrelevant to the situation. However, that's really, it actually is kind of applicable to what we're talking about here. Is that chaos is okay to have. It's okay to have a little chaos in your life. It's not the end of the world. In fact, it makes life more interesting. So I'm thinking, in order to give a conflict in the frame where, to kind of give one to Gilrine so that she's kind of taking it on the chin every time, I'm thinking, and I've posted this on the forums as well, I'm thinking that Estelle could be overworked at this point. Yeah, Karita says, Gilrine is a fascinating character, and I do agree that it would be a shame to never see her wisdom. In addition to having foresight, she has some value experiences to draw on. Absolutely. And I think that this is a good opportunity to kind of do this. All right? If Estelle is kind of overworked in a way, he's a 10-year-old. He has, sword training. He has these long historical lessons with Elrond. He has, he's probably also got, what medieval noble kids learned. He has to learn dancing and oration and all kinds heraldry, all kinds of nonsense. He's got a long day. Alex says, so I've never watched one of these. I don't think I'll video up since I'm not up to date on what's going on, where you guys are at. I'll stick with comments. That's fine. I'll survive. Sad. Anyway, so if Elrond is kind of almost overworking Estelle, and Estelle's tired all the time. He's coming home and he's just exhausted. Maybe Gilrine even invites him to do something that they used to do with some sort of regularity together, and he says something to the effect of, not today. I'm a little tired. Something to that effect, which is unusual for a young boy. And she addresses this with Elrond, who kind of calls back to our first episode where we had Estelle kind of running amok a little bit. And he's he's kind of running wild because he doesn't have enough structure in his life. So now he has the structure, and now he's becoming a responsible individual. He's learning important things. He's learning important skills. And he's learning things that are going to inform his character later on. But Gilrine's position here is that, that's fine. That's great. But he needs some time to be a child as well at this point. And then that will get wrapped up when when Gilrine kind of listens in on the end of the story and kind of pulls Elrond aside, and says something. Says, I was listening to your story and it sounds like. Kyrie says human life is relatively short. She knows that better than Elrond in an experiential way, at least. It would make sense for her to realize more quickly that that this kid needs to be a child and have unstructured playtime. Yes. And she basically brings Oinen's position up to Elrond. You just went through this whole thing saying that it's, that chaos is okay as long as it's as long as there's some limits on it. You know, it's not unlimited chaos to let him play for a few hours a day. And, you know, maybe he you know, we cut to the next day when Estelle comes in for his lesson, and maybe Elrond tells him, you know what, I think we're going to take today off. Why don't you go do something? You know, I don't know. Obviously, that's not the dialogue we want to be having coming out of Elrond's mouth, but something along those lines. What do you guys think? You think that would work? I'm going to continue and let you guys. This makes sense to me. Okay, all right. So we have one affirmative. Awesome. Normally, this is the point where somebody would be saying, "No, that's terrible," and then they would explain. But since it's just me, I'm going to keep rolling unless there's a nay cast to me from the chat. Okay. Don't feel like you have to call in, but you know, it would be appreciated. Otherwise, I'm going to have quite the hoarse voice by the time all is said and done. Okay, so let's get into the story here. All right, maybe it'll be better this time. Let's see. My shoulder hurts from all this strong arming. Yes, I'm a strong arming individual. All right. So I've accepted Korea's call. We'll see if she comes in. In the meantime, my video is doing all kinds of fun things. It might not be recording that, but we'll see. So let's go into the story. So we get in, and where do we start? Do we start with Ase in untrammeled chaos, basically? You know, running roughshod over the coast, because I know that we want to get there, because we want Myron to get sent over to repair damage done to the coastline. So that said, you know, how to open it up. I feel like, because we've discussed over the past few episodes, seeing Ase and Unin together playing roughhousing in the waters around Almoran, in the ocean when they're first creating the shorelines initially in episode 2. And so you know, maybe we see Ase on his own this time. And he's rushing through the sea, smashing the sea up against the rocks. He's having a grand old time. This is the most fun he's had in a while, because other people are busy with other things, and so nobody's really, you know, staying on top of him, making sure he's not making a mess. So again, we want to have the parallel between I guess that didn't work, huh? Again, we want to have the parallel between Ase and Myron. So, but I feel like he's got to have somebody with him, because there's got to be something to that scene, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to see Aule seeing his handiwork, basically. So, do we have him and Unin at the beginning? I feel like we have to, but I don't have. Has it been decided on how much power control the Ainu exert over nature? Well, they're able to transmute and manipulate matter. There's no question. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do what they do. They're position in the universe would be completely meaningless. So if the Ainur, if the Ainur are to be able to, like, for instance, if Ulmo was to be able to create the oceans, he needs to have the ability to do that. If Aule is going to make mountains, he needs to be able to do that. He needs to be able to shape the structure of the earth, of the rock, of the stone. And so Ase, well, we know that Ase, is responsible for. Alex says, how does it compare to superpowers, Magneto, Storm, or say waterbending from, I guess from whatchamacallit, the Avatar, the Last Airbender. Korea says, I think it would be good to see Ase and Unin prior to her telling him to cut it out, establish that relationship, and why he would listen to her. Yeah. So how does it compare to superpowers? I would say that Ase could do what Storm does. Yes. I would say that that Aule is able to do things. Hello. Well, you were there and then you were gone. That Aule is able to do things that we occasionally see. Not Magneto, but things like what Magneto can do. But I don't know about just sheer like telekinesis, lifting an object into the sky, but kind of, shaping the earth in a way. Are they more hands-on? I would say, all right, I would say this. We know that Ase is associated with storms. Okay, so that means that he has to be able to, what are the things he needs to be able to influence in order to do that? He needs to be able to influence air pressure, humidity. He needs to be able to, they might be more specialized. Yes, of course. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that Ase, has very specific, a very specific purview. He's responsible for not allowing the island of Arisea with the Teleri on it to arrive completely at Valinor. So he's able to do that. That's a fairly impressive feat of environmental manipulation. So he's got to be able to handle things like tsunami level events. He's got to be able to do that. And yes, I do agree with you, Karita, that it would be good to see Ase and Unin at the beginning of the episode to reassert their relationship. But at some point we have to send Ase out on his own, because he's got to be the one to mess up the coast, because otherwise we're not targeting him. Karita says, I'll give it one more try. I'm really dying to talk instead of just type. All right, I'll let you in here real quick. You were on the screen for like a second last time. Anyway, so what if we see Ase and Unin together for a while and they're playing out in the water together? And what if Ase wants to get closer to the coast, and and Unin says something to the effect of, well, Omo doesn't want us doing that because of his agreement with so close, because of his agreement with Aule. And Ase's kind of like, they get into it a little bit. And Ase basically rejects this idea that they should have limits. I don't want to do what I want. I want to get close to the coastline. It's no fun just pushing water around out here. Nothing happens. Doesn't do anything. And so they go. They separate for a bit. And Ase starts messing around with the coast, and we see that we see the waves breaking on the rocks, and maybe we see things getting messed up and destroyed. We see especially if Ivana's stuff, if we see some of the plants that are on the sides of the Pelori getting washed away. Unin might be go off because she has something specific to attend to. Yeah. Do we need to have something? Yeah. Well, that's Korea says she's trying to think of what that might be. There could be, there could be something like that. It's going to be hard to not have that be something that seems contrived. It's like when seaweed is dying, her dolphin buddies are ailing. I don't know. Is in the Ivana of the sea? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't have an idea either. Alex says, what do we associate with Unin? As far as the Legendaria goes, she is only associated with Ase. She's associated with Ase, but she also is associated with storms. I think she's also associated with rivers, too, if memory serves. I could be wrong about that. But Marie's not here because she would know off the top of her head, something like that. So, Rivers is right. Yay! Okay. Do we somehow specialize the two of them a bit more? Well, Ase's gig is more about the coastlines, the water that's near the coastlines, whereas Unin, her purview stretches further up